In this video, I'm completely redesigning the LEGO Star Wars 75412 Night Trooper Battle Pack, making the build a lot bigger so that it can fit all 4 of the minifigures from that set inside of it. I'm building a crazy sliding door mechanism, and of course, I'm making step-by-step instructions for all of this so that you can build it for yourself as well. So this is the LEGO Star Wars 75412 Night Trooper Battle Pack. It comes with 4 super detailed Night Trooper minifigures that even have zombie faces under their helmets. And while these minifigures are top tier, the same cannot be said for the build. This small build is supposed to represent the LAATLE Imperial gunship, but I just don't see a single resemblance. These wings on top don't exist on the actual ship, and the minifigures have to stand outside instead of sitting inside of the ship because the build is too small. So I would like to redesign this small Imperial gunship to make it more accurate to the source material. Now I do have some experience building LEGO ships because of the U-wing I built earlier last year, but that was just the modification of an existing set. And this build just cannot be saved, so I'm gonna have to start completely from scratch. So in 2014, LEGO released the Coruscant Police gunship, which is a different version of that same ship, and that set included these 2 trans orange windscreen pieces. So we can use these same pieces but in this trans black color that's more accurate to the version of the ship we're trying to build. Now they do have quite an odd shape, but they connect perfectly to these staircase pieces. So I connected 2 of them together and added a bunch of little details to try and make it resemble the ship as much as possible. I'm still not quite sure about this giant cross I put in the middle, so I might remove it later, but this whole windscreen section is big enough to fit a minifigure inside, and it actually gives us a pretty good idea of how big this ship is going to be. So with that in mind, I started building this small cockpit seating area with 2 control panels. Then I attached these small brackets on each side and added some plates leading up to a small ceiling, which is a great technique because it allows you to attach plates on the side. But the whole section is a little bit small when you compare it to the windscreen, and it's extremely fragile. So I started the whole thing again, but using Technic bricks. And Technic pieces are a bit more complicated to work with, but they're a lot sturdier. And you can connect these small pins to the lift arms, which also lets you add plates to the side of the build. I also attached a windscreen that can easily open and shut, and I built this super detailed panel that can attach to the side and that looks super cool and accurate to the ship and universe. Now there is this weird small semicircle that's right underneath the windscreen, and that shape is quite hard to replicate in LEGO, but I managed to do a pretty good job using hinges and wedge plates. Now one of the many things that the 2014 model didn't do well is the roof. It just lacks a lot of details and angles that the ship has. So I tried to make this front part of the roof look a lot more detailed, and I especially used slopes to get this nice and sleek look. I think it looks so much better than the 2014 design. But with that done, we've basically finished the whole front section of the ship, which means we need to start getting to the doors, which is where things start getting complicated. So in both the Clone Wars and Rebels TV show, the doors of these gunships open vertically towards the top, and when these exact gunships disappear on a Star Destroyer and are found years later in the Ahsoka show, their doors suddenly slide towards the back. I just don't know how Disney could have messed this up, but since the Night Trooper Battle Pack is based off the Ahsoka show, I have to build the version with the doors that slide back. So I quickly built both doors that look just like the ones in the show. And I do have some experience with sliding doors, but the mechanism for this ship is going to be a lot more complicated than for the U-wing, because the wall of this ship has to be completely flat, which means the doors are going to be pushed into the wall when closed, whereas the doors of the U-wing stick out a little bit, which makes it easier to pull them open, but it doesn't look as good. So for the doors of this gunship to open, they need to be pushed out and then back. So I got out all of my Technic pieces and got to work. But while I'm struggling with that, it'd be great if you would consider subscribing to the channel, because this video was a lot of work. And of course, I'm making step-by-step instruction manuals so that you can build this exact model of the Imperial gunship yourself. But more on that later, because I just finished this sliding door mechanism. As you can see, the doors are pushed into the wall, and when you turn this small knob on top, it pushes the back of the door out so that you can grab it and pull it back. And this mechanism is actually quite simple. It only consists of these small Technic lift arms that push the doors out when you rotate these Technic bushes that are connected. Now I also added this small 2x3 plate that prevents the lift arms from spinning any more than 90 degrees so that you don't have to set them back every time you open the doors. But now that we're done with the door mechanism, we need to start working on the back part of the ship. So I built this oddly complicated Technic structure and attached it to the front of the ship. Now this back part is made up of so many different angles, and the 2014 set just used this big rounded panel piece to replicate that. But because of the size difference of this mock and that set, we're gonna have to replicate these angled areas using slopes and wedge plates. So I did that for this small back panel. But for the side panels, I tried connecting different wedge plates together, but I couldn't make any of them fit right. So I kept trying every single combination of wedge plates that I had, but time after time they just didn't work. But after hours of work, I finally managed to build a perfect panel that I then connected to these ball joints and attached to both sides of the build. And to finish off this whole section, I added a few tiles that completely surround the doors. And this ship is really starting to come together now. But there still is one key thing that we have to build. See, this ship has a total of 10 small wings that really give it its particular shape. So I started by building these 2 wings that are in the back, utilizing this weirdly shaped wedge plate. I then attached them to this really cool roof section I built, and I used hinges so that you can slightly angle them upwards. I did leave a small gap when attaching this top section to the rest of the ship so that you can still access the knobs on top to open the doors. And I'm really happy about how this roof section turned out. There aren't very many exposed studs, which makes it look really sleek. And I just think this whole ship is really starting to become complete. But we still have to build all of these wings in the front. And for these small ones on top, the 2014 set used these cool sword-like pieces. They're sort of like plates, but they have these angled sides. And you can connect the back to these hinge pieces so that you can angle them up and down. I then connected these small wedge tiles to the back, and I used another one of these hinge pieces to attach 2 of the small wings together. And then finally I connected these wing sections to a ball joint on each side of the roof. And I think these look pretty spot on. The only slight issue is that you can't access the cockpit when the wings are in their normal position, so you have to slightly push them to the side to pull the windscreen up. But this isn't a real problem because the wings are attached to ball joints, which makes them very posable. And speaking of ball joints, this really cool posable turret piece looks just like these small cannons on the bottom of the ship. So we can attach one of them on each side of the build, which I think looks quite good. We can also add another one of these cool sword-like pieces behind each turret to represent these small bottom wings in the back. But as you can see, we're still missing these 2 wing sections, which are the biggest ones on the ship. But before we can actually start building these wings, we need to build this small section that connects the wings to the rest of the build. And this section has a lot of angled areas, but I was able to recreate them using a variety of slopes, and I attached them over the turrets on each side of the build. I then built 4 of these small wings and connected them using hinges to form 2 of these bigger wing sections. And I think they really do look like the ones in Universe. Now all we have left to do is connect these wings to the rest of the ship, and we're basically done. However, because of these bottom wings, when you go and put this ship down, it won't look that great, and it'll put a lot of pressure on those wings. This wasn't a problem for the 2014 model because it was quite disproportionate, but for our ship, we're gonna need to add these 2 clear panels on the bottom to put it down without a problem. It'll make this ship look like it's in flight mode, which will look really good on display on your shelf. But for the interior, when you open up the doors, it's completely empty. So I built this small seating area that can seat 3 of the 4 minifigures from the battle pack. I added it to the interior of the troop bay, and of course the 4th minifigure can be seated in the cockpit. And with that, we've completely finished our Imperial gunship. And as I was saying earlier, I made step-by-step instruction manuals so that you can build this exact version of the Imperial gunship. These instructions are on Rebrickable and will cost $4 US. The link to the Rebrickable page is in the description down below. I'd really appreciate it if you'd buy these instructions and try to build this mock for yourself. And of course, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I do have something really cool planned for the next video. I just hope it won't take as long to make. So if you want to see me design more cool Star Wars ships just like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, bye bye.